Again, good morning and welcome back to our Lenten series called Scandal as we walk to the cross with Jesus and think about what a scandal it was. Today we talk about the betrayal of Judas. Now, imagine me posting pictures on my social media like, here's me in the worst shape I've ever been. Here's me with my eye infection. Here's me giving into my addiction. Or here's me and my wife fighting. Or here's all the information that I'm going to hide from the IRS. Yeah, I don't think so, right? We don't post that kind of stuff. We post what we want others to see. We hide what we don't want others to see. Because we want other people to think that we're good. And so the things that we don't want them to see, we hide. And if we try hiding them, and if we can't hide them, then the other thing we do is we try to put the best spin that we can on them to make them seem kind of good. I mean, just think about it. Like we do this, not just social media, we do this in all our lives. We put our diplomas on the wall, not our speeding tickets. We tell people about our promotions. We don't tell them about AA meetings or counseling sessions. We don't broadcast everyone about our marriage struggles. We don't tell people about when the police were over at our house. We don't tell everyone about the addiction that we can't control. We show people and we tell people about things we want them to see. We want to look good. There's our first point there. We want others to think we're good, even when we're not. And so we often try, when we can't hide things, we often try putting a spin on the bad things we do to make them seem good, to make them look as good as we can. So a man convinces himself that he should be happy, and that the children should not see he and his wife fighting so much, so it would be better for him, it'd be good for him to divorce her. Or an employee convinces herself that she's not being paid what she deserves, so she has now earned the right to abuse the system and call in sick even when she isn't. Or a citizen has determined that the IRS gets enough of his money, and so they don't really need to know how much he really makes. Because if they did, well then, he wouldn't be able to survive. Or a girl convinces herself that she needs to be loved and accepted. So she lets him use her. Judas, as he approached Jesus to betray him, approached him to give him a kiss. But it wasn't just any kiss. The word there describes how it was a showy, ostentatious kiss, as if to say, look, everyone, I really am Jesus' friend. I really am his good friend. Even Judas in this darkest hour was trying to put a spin on what he was doing and just in the littlest way maybe make it look like there was something good about what he was doing. But Jesus called Judas's kiss what it was, an act of betrayal. You see, Judas approached Jesus to kiss him. Our text says, but Jesus asked him, Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? Now, Jesus knows all things. He knows everything. But before Judas even kissed him, he asked, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? Why did Jesus ask him that? And why did Jesus ask him that before Judas even kissed him? Do you think that maybe Jesus was giving Judas one last opportunity to change his mind and to not do the thing he was going to do? A lot of times, just before we betray Jesus, he poses a question to us somehow to give us the opportunity to make the right choice. Judas had walked with Jesus. He had learned from him. He had grown with him. He had followed Jesus. And Jesus is saying, so you're just going to turn away from me after all of this? You're just going to betray me with a kiss? Why did Jesus ask Judas this? Wasn't it a warning? Wasn't it a final opportunity to do the right thing, to follow Jesus instead of what he was about to do? Isn't that why Jesus asked, are you going to betray the Son of Man with a kiss? He's giving him a warning. He's trying to give him one more chance to change course. And so, as all the scriptures always speak to us, maybe Jesus is speaking that question to you. Maybe there's someone here that needs to hear this. Maybe there's someone here that is contemplating making a very bad decision. Someone who's considering betraying their Lord, even though you're here making it look like you love him, but someone here considering giving Jesus a kiss goodbye. If so, then Jesus is giving you the same opportunity, and me the same opportunity that he gave Judas. An opportunity to stop doing what you're doing, to reconsider your plan, an opportunity to get your wrongs right before you follow through with them, an opportunity to repent of a life that has ceased following Jesus, an opportunity to reconsider your plan to betray Christ. Now, Jesus knows everything. He knows what's on your heart. He already knows what's on your heart. He sees everything. We talked about that with the kids. He knows what's on your heart. He doesn't have to ask you what's on your heart for his knowledge. He's asking for you. He's asking for you to give you a chance, to give you a choice, to give you an opportunity to change your mind. So when he does, what are you going to do? Where are you in life right now? Are you in a place of rebellion against God in your life right now? Are you angry with your circumstances? Are you ticked off at someone? Are you unwilling to love the person that God has given you to love? Are you kind of just sliding down in your life into kind of like a comfortable place of just maybe thinking about yourself, selfish living or selfish thinking? Are you getting into some habit of disobedience to God and you've kind of just become okay with it? Are you knowingly going against God's will? Are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? Or are you going to turn in repentance to God? Sin loves darkness. When you and I, if we're planning on doing something that we know is wrong, you do it in the darkness. If you're planning on doing something that you don't want others to know about, you do it in the darkness. If you're planning on doing something that you're kind of afraid to do because your conscience tells you that it's not the right thing to do, you do it in the darkness. Sometimes actual darkness, but sometimes the darkness of privacy. You're alone, so no one knows. Sin loves darkness. Sometimes actual darkness, sometimes darkness of privacy. Sin loves darkness, closed doors, private web browsing, nighttime, a blackout when the power goes out, and it's just dark everywhere, no security cameras, a dark alley, offshore accounts, and a dark garden at night where Judas brought his band of soldiers to get Jesus. Why? Why did Judas and his band of men, why did they come for Jesus in the darkness? As he pointed out, they could have grabbed him anytime in broad daylight. But why did they do it in darkness? They did it in darkness because they were afraid. Because they knew what they were doing was wrong. Because they knew that if they did this in broad daylight, that there would have been an outcry. And so Jesus says, hey, am I leading a rebellion that you've come with swords and clubs? Why are you so scared of a defenseless, peaceful man? Now, Jesus knew the answer, okay? He's just trying to get them to see the answer. Why? Why are they doing it? They're doing it because they know it's wrong. They're doing it because they're scared of the crowd who loves Jesus. They're doing it because they knew that the majority of the population, if they knew what they were doing, they would have stepped in and somehow tried to prevent this. They would have stepped in even in force to prevent this from happening. And so they had to be armed with swords and clubs. I mean, think about it. Why do criminals carry guns? Because they know what they're doing is wrong. So, our next point is this. We think darkness will hide our sin so that people think we're good. Do you find yourself hiding a lot of what you do or say or think? Do you keep it to yourself? Do you do it in the darkness to keep people from knowing? Because you know you shouldn't be doing those things? Isn't it awful to have to hide your lives? Isn't it painful to have to keep secrets? Isn't it terrible to walk through life with guilt? And fear too, because to walk through life always having to kind of arm yourself from the attacks of those who are on the side of good. Because you know that they're right and you're wrong, but you have to arm yourself to protect yourself from that. That's not a good way to walk through life. Jesus pointed out, hey, every day I was with you in the temple courts. Jesus carried out all his activity in the light. He had nothing to be ashamed about, ever. And because of that, he never had to walk in guilt or in fear. That's the way life should be. Life is so much better when we don't have to hide who we are or when we don't have to hide what we're doing. Jesus is the light of the world. We hear about him in John 1. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. Jesus brings light into our darkness. It's so much better when we're on his side. His side is the side to be on. Notice something about darkness. Jesus said, this is your hour of darkness, when darkness reigns. Notice something about darkness. Darkness only reigns for an hour. That's a temporary measurement of time. So God does permit darkness to reign, but only for an hour. Only temporarily. So darkness is temporary. So whose side would you rather be on? The side of darkness, which is temporary? Or on the side of the one who breaks the darkness, which is forever? Jesus was forsaken by something a whole lot worse than Judas or the chief priests or even you and me. Because not only did Jesus carry all of our betrayals and all of our denials and all of our deeds of darkness on him and feel the punishment for all of them, but Jesus was even forsaken by his Father, by his own Father, for us. The darkest hour there ever was. And Jesus obediently, he went through all of that obediently and willingly because his heart was so filled with love for you and me. And then it was finished. The hour of darkness was over. Sin paid for. Heaven opened for all of us, even for those of us who betrayed him. So whose side do you want to be on? Think about it. Whose side did Judas want to be on after the betrayal? He realized that he had joined the wrong side, and it ate him up. He realized he had joined this. He so desperately wanted to be on the side of Jesus again, but he thought it was impossible. And so his life ended in despair. The movie Braveheart tells the story of Scotland's pursuit of freedom against the tyranny of England, as they're led by the brave Highlander named William Wallace. And the story builds and builds until it gets to the most important battle, where Wallace and his men are fighting against the English. Now, Wallace thought that he had the support of the Scottish nobles, but turns out they had been bought off by the king. And so in the climax of the battle, they betrayed Wallace on the battlefield, leaving Wallace and his men to be routed. And there's this powerful scene in the movie where Wallace looks into the face of Robert the Bruce, who is the leader of those nobles, and realizes that even Robert the Bruce, even he betrayed him. Now, like Judas, Robert the Bruce takes his act of betrayal really hard. It eats him up. It tears his heart out. And so his father tries telling him that he did the right thing. He said, "Son, we must have an alliance with England to prevail. You achieved that. You protected your family. You increased your land. And in time, you'll have all the power in Scotland." And Robert the Bruce says, "Land, titles, power, nothing." And his father says, "What do you mean nothing?" And he says, "I have nothing. I have nothing. Men fight for me because if they do not, I will kick them off my land and starve their wives and children. But those men that bled the ground red at Falkirk, they fought for William Wallace. He fights for something that I never had. And I took it from him when I betrayed him. I saw it in his face on the battlefield. And it's tearing me apart. It's tearing my heart out." So his father said, son, all men betray. All lose heart." And Robert the Bruce shouts, "I don't want to lose heart. I want to believe like he does. I will never be on the wrong side again." Maybe God has brought that conviction to you. Maybe you've chased after everything that you thought would satisfy your soul, but it's only left you empty. And you realize you have nothing. And maybe you've even betrayed Jesus to do it. The silver coins, the money, the fame, the acceptance we seek do nothing for us but leave us empty-hearted. They leave us with nothing. And so I pray that God is leading you to say, "I don't want to lose heart. I want to believe. I want to follow Christ. And I will never be on the wrong side again." At the end of the trail are two trees. One tree is leafless and withered, so it's dead, but sturdy, and bare branches fork out from the trunk, and on the strongest of those branches, there's tied a hangman's noose. That's where Judas dealt with his failure. If only Judas could have seen the other tree. The other tree is also dead, but it only has two beams sticking out from the one in the middle. And there's no hangman's noose tied around the crossbeam, because there's not going to be any more death on this tree. Once was enough. One death for all. One death for all of us, even to pay for all the times we betrayed him. The light overcomes the darkness. The betrayal of Judas, what a scandal. What a scandal. How could he? How could he betray Jesus? How could he betray the Son of God? How could he? how could I? How could we? The story of Judas isn't to get us to say, how could he? It's to get us to realize, how could we? How could we? We shouldn't be shocked at the tree Judas chose, because that it was hard for him to believe. Because to believe that Jesus would really forgive us after all we've done to betray him is not easy to believe. In fact, it takes just as much faith that Jesus can look past all of our betrayals and forgive us for all of our failures as it takes to believe that Jesus rose from the dead. Both are miraculous. Both take faith to believe, but both are just as certain and guaranteed. How is it possible that only a few feet away from the tree of despair stands the tree of hope? A hangman's noose around one, a life preserver around the other. How could, but there it is. But there it is. So how can Jesus welcome us with outstretched, nail-pierced hands? Why would Jesus have gone through all that he went through for us? And why would have Jesus done all that he did for us who betrayed him? For you and me who betrayed him? The only answer is grace. It's the only answer. Grace. The amazing, undeserved love of God. The God who, even though we betrayed him, has promised you and me, never will I leave you. Never will I forsake you. You are forgiven.